Engineering Science. Mr. Young here again, just with another video. This time on voltage dividers. If I go back here a second, I'll be able to explain more about it. Just looking at how these are involved in electrical circuits and what they're used for, and the kind of formula or equation behind it. There's a couple in here actually that I can cover in this short video. Obviously we'll need to know a little bit of Ohm's law as well, so knowing what voltage is measured in, etc. Anyway, voltage divider is a wee circuit there, and basically uses your kind of circuit component knowledge, and they're used in electrical circuits, and they're used mainly to control the voltage output in a circuit. So say that battery there's only 12 volts, so it's 12 volt battery. The light bulb doesn't need all 12 volts to make it work, it only needs a part of that voltage, so just like a tiny bit, like 3 volts would probably be enough. So in a voltage divider circuit, what we'll do is use a couple of resistors to control the voltage out, to make sure that the light bulb's got enough voltage to power it. And too much voltage will probably blow the bulb or blow any other component, so it's good to control circuits. And that's what it's mainly going to be used for, is circuit, which is a good thing because you can use a circuit for obviously different circuits off the same kind of supply voltage as well. Maybe other components might need a bigger supply voltage. Anyway, let's look at the first problem here. So you've got like a wee circuit here on the left hand side. You've got the VS here stands for voltage supply. You've got your two resistors, R1 and R2, and you've got your voltage out there, as you can see here. So there's your voltage out. And you can see the resistors are kind of in series here, aren't they? They're just one after the other. So bringing in our resistors knowledge as well. So VS is our voltage supply, and then we've got our V out as being our voltage out there. And so what we're going to do here, since obviously R1 here is going to have a voltage across it, and R2 is going to have a voltage across it, what we'll say is that the voltage across R1 is going to be V1, and the voltage across R2 is going to be V2. Now if you add V1 and V2 together, what you should get is the same amount as the voltage supply. So say the voltage supply is 10 volts, V1 has 6 volts over it, then V2 should have about 4 volts over it. Now obviously in a circuit you'd lose a little bit of kind of voltage, tiny bit, due to kind of resistance and heat and everything being in the circuit as well, so it'd be almost about the same, or should be, in theory it should be. Anyway, the formula that you can use for voltage out is R2 divided by the total resistance times your voltage supply there. So that's how you usually use it, and we can change this around as well, but a more common one to use is V1 over V2 is equal to R1 over R2. So you're looking at the relationship between the voltage over the resistors and the resistors themselves. Anyway, for a wee example here, we'll use the first one first here. Got a circuit, your voltage supply is 12 volts, you've got R1 500 ohms and R2 1500 ohms, and we'll have our voltage 1 and 2 there as well. But what we're looking to do is find our V out in there. What's the voltage out? Because this would lead to other parts of the circuit, like a transistor or some other kind of part of the circuit that will run a motor or a light or something. So voltage out, so is that R2 divided by the total resistance times your voltage supply. So that's what I end up with at this stage here. And obviously the 1500 divides by 2000 times your voltage supply, and you can work out that the 1500 divided by 2000 will be 0.75 times your 12, and your output voltage is 9 volts. Okay, so you've reduced the voltage from the 12 volts going in to the 9 volts coming out. So you could have, now this is where you can use different resistors to control that voltage further and reduce it further as well. And what you might end up doing is using a variable resistor, so that you can actually adjust the resistor instead of having to swap resistors in and out constantly. You just have one with a dial that you can be able to dial up, or a slider that will be able to slide up more of a resistance on it, like a potentiometer is a variable resistance resistor in this case. For an example 2 here, I'm going to use the V1 over V2 example here. So we've got a voltage divider here, and what we should be looking at, it says V2 in the explanation here, but it should be R1. What we're looking for is R1 here. And what you'll see here is V1 over V2 is equal to R1 over R2. So looking for R1 here, so we'll put in what we know. So the voltage is 8 divided by 10 there for V1 over V2. Don't know R1, but it's divided by 200. Now you could just work them out as it is, but what I tend to do is cross multiply. So this time it will be 8 times 200 is equal to 10 times R1. So what you'll find there is 8 times 200 is 1600 is equal to R1 times 10. And then what we can do here is bring the 10 back across. So 1600 divided by 10 is 160 ohms. Now if you just did 8 divided by 10 and did it that other way as well, using the 200 on the other side, you'll probably find it comes out to the same, it'll come out to the same value anyway, but I tend to cross multiply in those cases there. Okay, so that's the two main ones. You've got the first version there for finding V out, and you've got this one here. It's more common that you might use in an exam. We'll set some questions now. At the end of the day, what you need to know is that this is predominantly worth between 4 and 7 marks in an exam. It's not a huge amount, but it is the top end of N5 and this kind of starting position in electronics for higher. So it's good to know this, because even if you struggle with it this year and you come back to do higher, the chances are you're going to have to be able to use this for the kind of higher work anyway. Now we recap there. So obviously it's voltage dividers are used to control the voltage in a circuit, or the voltage out to run other components. Your V out is your voltage out, your VS is your voltage supply, and your two formulas are there as well. So it's a basic kind of introduction here. It's just really about manipulating figures in a circuit, not really like a heck of a lot, but you just have to think about the process. Okay, so that's me finished. I'll let you go. Enjoy your day or evening, whenever you're watching this. Stay safe, and thanks for watching.